dragons are one of the most versatile and widely known mythological creatures, appearing in cultures around the world. In Western mythology, dragons are typically fire-breathing, winged beasts, hoarding treasure and battling heroes. In contrast, Eastern dragons, especially in Chinese culture, are seen as benevolent symbols of power, wisdom, and good fortune, often associated with water and rainfall. Banshees are female spirits from Irish mythology, known for their haunting wails that foretell the death of a family member. Traditionally considered to be omens of death and messengers from the otherworld, Banshees possess a ghostly appearance and are deeply rooted in Celtic folklore. Golems. In Jewish folklore, a golem is an animated anthropomorphic being, magically created entirely from inanimate matter, typically clay or mud. The most famous golem narrative involves Rabbi Judah Loew ben Bezalel, the late 16th century rabbi of Prague, who created a golem to defend the Prague ghetto from anti-Semitic attacks and pogroms. The Kappa is a water demon in Japanese folklore that inhabits rivers and lakes and is known for challenging humans to sumo wrestling, with a penchant for polite behavior. They are depicted as humanoid creatures with the bodies of tortoises, beaked faces, and a water-filled depression atop their heads that is the source of their power. Their actions range from comparatively minor misdemeanors, such as looking up women's kimono if they venture too near to water, to outright malevolence, such as drowning people and animals, kidnapping children, raping women, and at times, eating human flesh. Baba Yaga, a complex figure from Slavic folklore, often depicted as a witch living in a hut on chicken legs. Baba Yaga is known for her ambiguous nature, capable of helping or hindering those who seek her out, depending on their worthiness and respect towards the mystical. Basilisk. The basilisk, known as the King of Serpents, is a legendary creature reputed to have the power to cause death with a single glance. Originating from European legends, it is described as a serpent with a crowned head, and in some descriptions, it possesses features of a cockerel and a dragon. Its gaze was said to be so lethal that it could not only kill but also petrify its victims. The roc is a gigantic bird in Arabian folklore, often described as large enough to carry off fully grown elephants. Tales of the roc appear in Arabian fairy tales and sailors' folklore, popularized in tales such as Sinbad the Sailor. The roc is typically depicted as a symbol of power and dominance over the natural world. Vampires. Originating in European folklore, vampires are nocturnal creatures that feed on the blood of the living to sustain themselves. Often depicted as undead beings, they possess supernatural powers and weaknesses, such as an aversion to sunlight, garlic, and holy symbols. The legend of Dracula, popularized by Bram Stoker's novel, is one of the most famous vampire tales. Werewolves, also known as lycanthropes, are mythological humans with the ability to transform into wolves or wolf-like creatures, usually during a full moon. This transformation could be due to a curse or a bite from another werewolf. Stories of werewolves are prevalent in European folklore and often involve themes of uncontrollable rage, loss of humanity, and the duality of man. The Kraken is a legendary sea monster of gigantic size, said to dwell off the coasts of Norway and Greenland. Descriptions of the Kraken depicted as a giant octopus or squid, capable of dragging whole ships and their crews to a watery grave. The legend likely originated from sightings of real giant squids, magnified by sailors' tales. La Llorona, or the Weeping Woman, is a ghost from Hispanic folklore, haunting riversides and crying for her drowned children. According to legend, she drowned her children in a fit of madness, and then filled with grief, drowned herself. Denied entry to the afterlife until she finds her children, she is condemned to wander, weeping and causing misfortune to those who encounter her. Sirens. In Greek mythology, sirens are creatures with the head of a woman and the body of a bird. They are famed for their enchanting music and singing voices, which lured sailors to shipwreck on the rocky coast of their island. In later European folklore, sirens were often used as a synonym for mermaids and portrayed with upper human bodies and fishtails. Sirens symbolize dangerous temptation embodied by women. Draugrs. In Norse mythology, Draugr are undead beings, often with superhuman strength and the ability to increase their size at will. They were believed to live in their graves, guarding the treasure buried with them, and could leave to wreak havoc among the living. Draugr possess several magical abilities, including shapeshifting and creating illusions. In more recent Scandinavian folklore, The Draugr changed from beings living in their own graves and turned into ghosts of dead fishermen who had drifted at sea and who was not buried in Christian soil. Kelpies are shape-shifting water spirits from Scottish folklore, residing in lochs and rivers. They often appear as beautiful horses to lure individuals into riding on their backs, only to drag them into the water and drown them. Kelpies can also take human form, further tricking unsuspecting victims. The Wendigo is a malevolent, cannibalistic spirit from Algonquian folklore associated with the North American forests. It is often described as a gaunt, ghastly figure with an insatiable hunger for human flesh. Wendigo legends are thought to serve as a moral tale against greed and excess. The Hydra, from Greek mythology, was a serpentine water monster with multiple heads. When one head was cut off, two more would grow in its place, making the creature nearly impossible to kill. Hercules famously defeated the Hydra as one of his 12 labors by cauterizing the necks after decapitating each head to prevent them from regrowing. Gorgons are female creatures from Greek mythology, the most famous of which is Medusa. Gorgons had the power to turn anyone who looked directly at them into stone. Medusa, with her hair of living venomous snakes, was defeated by the hero Perseus, who used a mirrored shield to avoid direct eye contact and behead her. Djinn or Genies. Originating from Middle Eastern and Islamic mythology, Djinns are supernatural beings created from smokeless fire. They have free will, much like humans, and can be benevolent, malevolent, or neutral. Western culture popularized them as genies, magical entities that grant wishes when summoned, often with unintended consequences. The Yeti, also known as the abominable snowman, is a mythical creature said to inhabit the Himalayan regions of Nepal and Tibet. Descriptions depict it as a large, ape-like being, and it is considered by some to be a cousin of the North American Bigfoot. While there is little evidence of its existence, the Yeti remains a popular figure in folklore and mountaineering tales. Cerberus, the monstrous three-headed dog, guards the entrance to the underworld in Greek mythology, preventing the dead from leaving and the living from entering without permission. The offspring of Echidna and Typhon, Cerberus was captured by Hercules as one of his 12 labors. The Minotaur is a creature from Greek mythology with the body of a man and the head of a bull. It was born from the union of Pasiphae and a bull sent by the gods as a punishment to Minos, the king of Crete. The Minotaur was confined to the labyrinth designed by Daedalus, where it was eventually killed by the hero Theseus. Mermaids and their male counterparts, mermen, are legendary aquatic creatures with the upper body of a human and the tail of a fish. Tales of mermaids span many cultures, often portraying them as beautiful, enchanting beings that can be benevolent or malevolent. They are sometimes said to lure sailors to their deaths with their mesmerizing voices.